But anyway, we're glad you're here today. We're going to have a series of different testimonies about what God has been doing in people's lives, kind of connected to the church. And this was actually Pastor John's idea, and then of course he left the mountain and made us plant. Can you believe that guy? But anyway, we were talking about in the meeting a while back, so let's do something different this year. So I'd like to start by inviting Julian and Chloe up, and they're going to share a little bit about children and maybe some youth ministry. So can we hear from them as they come up?
Good morning. Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chloe. I've been the children's ministry coordinator since early 2023, and I also help Kevin out with youth ministry part-time. And if you do know me, you know that being on stage in front of people is probably my least favorite place to be. But this is worth my discomfort to share some of these things. So I'd like to preface this first thing with saying that success in ministry is not very well measured by numbers. But one thing that I've seen in the last year that has really encouraged me is an increase in the number of families who have been coming regularly to church. Enough that I was able to split classrooms into preschool and older kids. Beginning of 2023, it was pretty sparse. So that's been great, because if the families are pouring in, then it makes what we do back there much more effective. So the curriculum we're going through is really emphasizing the character of God as we see it in the Old Testament, and also how Christ is revealed in the Old Testament. And sometimes I can't tell how much kids are really absorbing or learning, or how much they'll remember. But when I think back to when I was in Sunday school or VBS or whatever children's programs, even though I know that it shaped me, I don't remember specific lessons or points that I necessarily learned, but I do remember the people that taught me, how they represented Christ, how they treated myself and my classmates. And I can say very confidently that the team of volunteers that I have is pouring a lot of love into the kids back there. And I'd also like to share a little bit about youth ministry. We've seen a lot of change in the last year in youth group. We have a lot more kids coming, and there's also been a huge shift in just the general seriousness about faith that I've been able to watch happen, which has been really amazing to see. There's kids who go to youth group and they've started attending church. They started attending Bible studies outside of church of their own free will. No one's pressuring them. And there was a specific girl that I prayed for a while who has made a complete 180 from last year. So all of us volunteers can do as much as, we pour in as much as we can, but in the end, the glory is God's. He's the one who changes hearts.
Well, kind of follow up on that. Hate to say this, Matt, but even his sermons, I forget just about 2 hours later. But I became a Christian when I was 33, and there was a man, Mike Cassidy. Praise the Lord. I don't know why I'm doing this. But there was such a man within that man that I said to myself, I don't know anything about this Christianity, except I'm walking in here and I see this man and I want to be like him. There's something there I don't understand about him, don't know him well enough to know, but I want to be like that man. And so what I have to say here is just... Whew. Okay, I'm going to read this because I'm not going to impromptu this at all. Press cancel. I leave it for Chloe to speak about the nitty-gritty in the children's ministry. I can only speak about what it has done within me. And as I talk, I'm encouraging any of you to consider joining in with us. Be enlarged. There's a scripture, quote, "He that believes in me," I can barely read this from my tears. "He that believes in me, out of him shall flow rivers of living water." Oswald Chambers writes,
If you are always taking blessings to yourself and never learn to pour out anything unto the Lord, then other people do not get their horizons enlarged through you. That part about pouring out and horizons enlarged is the first part that I gain in this ministry, teaching. It's an opportunity to pour out, to enlarge our kids, and to be enlarged in return. My time with them has enlarged what I see of God. And that's kind of a mystical thing. Oh, I see this. But it really has enlarged me to see more of God. And has enlarged me with seeing a little less of my own frail self. The second part of this enlargement is about the kids. It allows them to see something of the love of God in another person. And that's what I saw in Mike Cassidy. You know, this is coming right from my heart. Thank you, Mike. What a blessing that man was in my life. And there's blessings here for you guys around. Take each one of someone you see and be enlarged by that person. Be that enlarged person for a child. Ooh, that's so important. I'm kind of going off. It allows them to see something of the love and God of another person in living, fallible flesh, wrapped in thankfulness and joy. For a child, that's an important person to become a friend of. It's something that helps them become enlarged, like it became enlarged in me, and more sure of themselves. That's important for kids. When you wrap up these two enlargements, that is our classroom togetherness, it's a delight for us to taste how great the Lord's love is for us. God is not mystical. We are created in his image to be poured out. So I encourage you, be enlarged.
All right, I'd like to invite the global outreach team. Larry has asked Lisa, Outland, and Judy Ann to come up, so y'all can just come up together if you would, and welcome them as they make their way to the stage.
When I was a kid, I remember missionaries coming to my church and thinking, I don't think I ever want to do that. And there was a song Scott Wesley Brown sang. I don't know if some of you remember it. Lord, please don't send me to Africa. Very, very fun song, but that was my song. Lord, please don't send me to Africa. Well, last October, I went to Africa. So God has a way of working in our hearts and putting in the desire to do some of the things sometimes that we don't even want to do. I've worked with a couple of different mission organizations that put on retreats for women around the world. And I recently started working with another one this last year. I've been to a couple churches. Mark and I have been here for a few years. And during the time I've traveled around the world putting on these retreats, or actually not putting them on, I counsel the missionaries at the retreats. And I've had to raise my own money and most of the time pay it for myself until I came to Lake Almanor. And I can't tell you how much it means to me to have a family. You are my family, and I feel your support when I'm traveling and when I'm going places and I'm doing counseling. I feel the support of the GO team, the mission team, who supports over 20 missionaries, and plus the local ones are the ones that get real excited about, like Lisa and Elijah, and they've allowed me, this old one, to be a part of it. So I'm excited about that. And I have another trip coming up with the AVA organization. Well, it's Catalyst, and AVA is underneath Catalyst in January, where I'll be going back to Spain. And they have 75 missionaries that come in, and there are 20 of us counselors that come and spend a week with them, just giving them a safe place to talk. And I couldn't do that without your support. So I thank you, and I thank the GO team for supporting me in this ministry and making me feel like when I go, I'm not alone. I have your prayers, I have your financial support, and I have your friendship. And I'll just say, in 2 weeks, I will be giving out ice cream sandwiches after church.
Well, good morning. My name is Lisa Outland. Most of you know me, I think. Grew up here. I was the opposite kid. She didn't want to go to Africa. I'm like, ooh, Africa, send me, let's go. That was in large part to the youth group here and that guy back there. Going to Hume Lake and going to Ecuador, going down to Mexico, and just seeing what the Lord is doing in other countries and seeing the need there. And that became a huge part of my heart. And so throughout my life, that's something I've wanted to do and I've cared about. And in part thanks to you guys, over this last year and a half, I had the opportunity to live and work in Ecuador, in a school there, and to see what the Lord is doing in that country and to partner with them, to be a part of it. And it's been beautiful to see you guys partner with me in that. I really appreciated notes that you guys have sent, emails, and the encouragement. The missions board has been very helpful. Some of them have even been sending off thank you letters for me while I was overseas, because Ecuador does not have a mail system at all. So that's been a huge blessing, as well as obviously the financial support to be able to do that, and definitely your guys' prayers. So thank you for what you've done, and it has been a beautiful opportunity.
Kevin is going to come up with a couple of students from youth group now, so let's welcome them.
Oh my gosh.
Hi.
You first. You want to go first? Go ahead.
Just get it over with, quick!
Huh? It's on.
Okay. Hi, I'm Stevie, and I know some of you guys, but not a lot. I started going to youth group probably like a couple months ago, and it really changed my life. I love it a lot, and I just have so much fun. And it really just starts my week over, like a fresh restart. And you're just a lot more happy. Everyone's very inviting. So I love it.
I'm Jet, and I like youth group because after Sunday, it's like you have to wait the whole rest of the week for Sunday to happen again, and it's kind of boring. But after Sunday, you go to Monday and you have youth group, and it's like it kind of gets to hold you over a little bit more, and it makes the week less boring and more fun. And everybody is super inviting, and you learn a lot from the sermons.
All right, I just wanted to mention a couple things. Like Chloe said, we're not talking about numbers, although our numbers have grown. One of the awesome things that I see is young adults here at church. Have you guys noticed that? I want to just point Jed and Stevie. I thought it was really cool a couple weeks ago. Their mom was sick, and they came anyways. They said, "Mom, can you just bring me to church and then come get me later?" Because Mom was too sick to come. And you know what? Thanks to Mom, because she did that. She brought them here and picked them up afterwards. Another thing, I was at a football game a couple weeks ago, and a young student came. He's just started coming, and he said, Kevin, we need to start having youth more than one night a week. And I said, okay, well, let's visit that. We'll look at that. I'll talk to my leaders and such. And then I talked to one of my leaders at the football game, and I was telling her about it, and she said, Jet told me the same thing. He said, we should be having youth more than one night a week. And so I think that's kind of cool that the kids want to come out. I would like my leaders to stand up. Everybody that's here. Back over there. We have an incredible group of leaders. 7 to 8 adults come every single Monday night. Every single Monday night. Save I'm going on a hunting trip or I'm going, and that's okay. But every single Monday night, I have 7 to 8 adults ranging from in their 20s to in their 60s, right? And so there's somebody for everybody. And that's one of the things that we try to emphasize is, I'm not going to reach all the kids. And Certainly some of the kids, they're just not going to like me for whatever reason, but they're going to like one of my other leaders, hopefully, right? And they're going to resonate with one of those other leaders. So it takes all of you to get us through, and for you to volunteer as well. We could always use more help. We could always use more help in children's ministry. We could always use more help in Awana. And when we do that, we could see the fruits of that, right? We get to see these kids start showing up on Sundays. We get to see these kids start going to Bible studies. This is what this church should be about, is raising up these youth, right? Because we're all getting older, right? And we see this every day in our community and everywhere, where churches start to get older and older and older, and then they're no more. So we need to really pour into those kids. And you guys do that. You send us to Hume Lake. 50 kids went to Hume Lake, 7 baptized. You send our kids, we went to the Tenderloin District and served in one of the just most awful places in San Francisco that you could think of. Drug addicts all along the street, using right in front of us. Sent a team of kids there that were just totally blessed by being there. And we're a blessing to those as well. So I just want to thank you for your support. Memorial Day yard sale, $3,000 to $5,000 we raise every single year because of you guys. And it's not just financial support, it's your prayers. We can feel them and we covet them. And I thank you for them. That's all I got.
All right, well, hopefully you're enjoying hearing some of these updates from people. I want to invite Jackson up to give us a little update on his internship. And then Barb Howe, if you would come at the same time, and then we can, you can go right after him. That would be fantastic. Can we hear it for Jackson?
Hey guys, how are you this morning? I'm Jackson, and most of you probably know me, but if you don't, I've been interning here at the church since the beginning of this summer, working for Pastor John, which is scary sometimes. But I'm just going to give you a little bit of an update on what I've learned and the general experience that I've had interning here for this summer. Now, you might know me from stage, playing bass or singing or anything like that. But the truth is, there is 1,000 more behind-the-scenes things that go on in people who do lots of work to make Sunday morning happen. It's not just whoever's up here on the stage. And I've gotten to learn all about that. Whether it's been creating orders of service or making click tracks so everyone can stay on beat, which Bob sometimes messes up. Fixing tech issues with John, that one's always fun. Setting up speakers, mixing the soundboard, etc., even setting up chairs. But one of the most important things I've learned is what service really looks like when you're working in a church. And that's something that's exclusive to working in a church a lot of the time. You get to help out in so many ways that you wouldn't be able to help out in other jobs, whether it's helping someone move, or like I said, setting up chairs. You get a unique experience, and you get to learn what it means to serve others. Something else I really love about this job and this internship is the mentorship that I've received and the relationships that I've been able to grow. I've learned so much from Bob and John and Matt, not just about music, but about life and about God. I've learned leadership skills, both through instruction and through example. I've learned how to have bold faith in my ministry. I've learned to trust God to provide no matter the circumstances. A good case of this is whenever we have tech issues or, the lights don't work or something fails, which happens a lot. The first thing me and John would do is pray about it first, which, of course, sometimes we forgot to do. And we'd spend hours trying to fix something only to realize we forgot to pray about it. Of course, it gets resolved right after. But another really important thing I've learned about is what makes a good worship leader. And I've learned that through John and Bob so much. And the truth is, singing skills matter and guitar skills matter. But by far, the most important thing is the attitude of your heart.
Amen.
I've learned what it looks like to humble yourself before God.
Amen.
I've learned what proper worship truly looks like, biblical worship. I've learned to sing to God and not just for an audience's applause. And although I've learned so much about music and technology, which is awesome and I've loved every step of, my favorite experience has been growing my walk with God through this internship. God has taught me so much through this internship and the people who have trained me. And I just want to thank you guys all for being a great structure and a great support for what God has been teaching me. Thank you, guys.
Gosh, after Jackson, I don't know if I can tell it. Thank you, Jackson. And right in front of you is Marva. And I'm representing women's ministries here. And Marva has been a very big part of WOW for many, many years. And I'm sorry that she can't do it anymore, dear, but we love you. So, WOW is Women of the Word, and we get together every Thursday morning, and we share the gospel through a book that we're currently reading, which is called the Names of God. And I mean, it's that thick, so you know that we're going to be doing this for quite a while. And then Barbara Marvel, is that her? What is it? Yo, okay. She is currently leading us, so that's great. But we realize that a lot of our members who used to be coming have moved away. And so we want to encourage you younger gals who have time during the day to come and join us. And, you know, it's not just reading the Word or socializing with each other, but we pray for each other's needs. And, you know, as women, we do have a lot of needs in the family, as Judy Ann has told us. So that's part of the ministry that I have been involved in. But we started a new ministry here that through Marlowe, and that is for younger women with children to come and enjoy each other. And I think that's a great way to get involved as well, is to be involved in one of those ministries. So thank you very much for...
When does the ministries happen?
Let's see, I think our WOW one is Thursday mornings at 10, and Marlowe's is on Friday, isn't it?
Yes.
I think Friday, and during the day, various times. So, yeah, it's always in the bulletin. So thank you all for listening to this old lady.
All right, next we have a couple of students from LACS. If you all would come on up, we would love to hear. Let's hear it for these young ladies as they make their way forward.
Hi, my name is Ireland, and I go to Lake Elmina Christian School with my cousin Paisley. I've been going for about 3 years, and she just joined this year, so I'm really excited for her to be coming to school with me. We have a new principal this year, Mrs. Ayers, and we're both really excited to have a great school year with her. We're looking forward to the fun field trips that we go on, and we're looking forward to the outdoor education camp in Lake.
Excellent, well done. Thank you very much for doing that. Isn't it terrifying to get up on the stage? All right, next I'd like to invite Jack Montgomery up. I don't remember where, oh, right there in the front. Let's hear it for Jack as he makes his way forward.
You're right, it is terrifying. Well, my name's Jack. I'm the treasurer here. And in order to talk about what I want to send you on a little bit of a metaphor. Let's go on a road trip. Going to pile the family into the car, going to go up to family camp, and you got the grandkids out in the back, you got your kids, and you're all getting ready to go, and you've invited friends to go to a family camp and join you up there. These are some friends you've wanted to bring to church, and they thought, well, I'm not ready for that, but let's go to camp. So you got the kids in the back, and they're talking about Awanas, and they're talking about Sunday school, they're talking about youth. You've got your kids in also mom's group, and you've got the men's and women's Bible studies, and the discussions are just great. Can't wait to get to camp, and you're talking about the music you're going to sing together and the good times you're going to have. And as you get in and you start out, you look down, you think, do I have enough gas? Can I get there? Well, that's kind of a silly metaphor, but that is what I want to talk about as the treasurer. As we expand all these programs, and as we all love them, we have to make sure we've got enough gas in the car. And so I'm glad to be able to speak to you about this after the offering, because it's not about trying to see if I can have you put more money in the offering. It's more of what Paul was talking about. Yesterday at the men's Bible study, we were talking, Matt was talking about everybody should consider in their own hearts what they should give, not out of compulsion, but they should be not only a cheerful, but a hilarious giver. And so that's hard, when you start thinking it's hilarious. Yeah, right, okay, but for me, what Paul was also talking about was, he was talking to the Corinthians who had, they were doing well, and they hadn't experienced the persecutions yet. But he was talking to them because they were being so supportive of the people, of the Christians that were in Jerusalem. And they traveled there, and they were, a lot of them had traveled there, heard Peter, and been converted. And in doing that, they wanted to stay and learn more. But by doing that, they lost their jobs. They couldn't go back to where they were. And so they were getting pretty destitute. At the same time, the persecutions were starting. And so Paul was just encouraging them about how much help that's doing. So let's go back to my metaphor. You're in the car and you're going, and in reality, you've got a whole car full of missionaries, because all of these kids that you saw here, or these different groups that are opportunities to bring friends and family in, it's really exciting. I mean, I just think that this morning is just really fun and really exciting. And I just would encourage you to consider, as these programs grow and expand, expenses go with it. And so we are in constant need to be able to fund them. So just consider them in your own heart, what you can give to keep this mission to this area and to the world going. With that, I will give you a little tease about, after we have our potluck, we will have our annual meeting, and I'll describe the last year's financial and the budget going forward. And I'll do it by teaching you how you should ride your bike. Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, can we hear it for all the folks that got up here? It is. We reached out to many of the ministry leaders, and so if you didn't feel like you were represented up here, talk to your leader, because they didn't get back to me. So, but there are many other people we could have had come up here about Bible studies, and there's home Bible studies going on 3 nights, 3 different ones throughout the week. Men's and women's studies. There's youth group does other stuff, and I could go on and on. It's not a commercial today, but if you come to church 2 or 3 Sundays in a row, you will hear about some need, a way to serve, a way to get involved. And this is, we encourage you to find a ministry that you can connect with if you're not already connected. Some of you are already in that. And just to grow together. to reach out together. And so there'll be a report at the annual meeting that's written from other ministries that you can take home and check out to learn more. And each of them has kind of said, this is what's been going on this last year. Here's some things we're looking forward to next year. And then here's some areas where we need some prayer. It might be more volunteers or some help with something. So you can pick those up after church. But I want to look at Psalm 67 for a couple minutes. And we have a few minutes left here. And this is a psalm that is incredible. It's relatively short, so if you have a Bible, you can go ahead and turn that on or get that out. And I want to read the whole psalm and just make a couple comments to encourage us to think about the year ahead. Psalm 67, it's only 7 verses long. It says this: May God be gracious to us and bless us, and make his face to shine upon us. Selah. That your name or your way may be known on the earth, your saving power among all nations. Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you. Let the nations be glad and sing for joy. For you judge the peoples with equity and guide the nations upon the earth. Selah. Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you. The earth has yielded its increase. God, our God, shall bless us. God shall bless us. Let all the ends of the earth fear him. This is a psalm that I've called #blessed. I don't know if you can relate to that. But this year, just looking back and hearing from the different people, students and adults that are up here, just being thankful for all that God has been doing just in this little church, in our community. And again, there could be many, many more stories told. But just the way that we've been able to help out a couple other churches in the area. Pastor John and I know Jackson have been connected up with the Baptist church in town about filling in for some worship needs. A few of us have been able to speak over at MLCC as they're looking for a pastor just to kind of fill in. It's been super fun to do that. We had the joint VBS with MLCC, and we're doing a women's conference here in October. Guys, you don't get to come. No offense, I'm not invited either. But there's just some neat things happening within the community as churches continue to grow and do things together. And we've always had a great relationship with Pastor Terry over at Calvary Chapel in Westwood. But we live in an incredible country, an incredible time. And I think as a church, we're very blessed. But why are we blessed? I know I told you a couple weeks back, I got to go down with Elijah as he started his missionary training. And I made the poor decision of getting in the borderline on Saturday evening. If you didn't hear about this, woe is me, big deal. But it took about 5.5 hours to cross. And as I was doing that, I got to meet a lot of people because there's vendors selling you things. And there was one thing I'd never seen before in Mexico. They were selling these little tiny puppies. I was like, what? And they didn't look old enough to be away from their mom. I don't know enough about dogs, but I was like, that's new. And so I'm talking with all these people, and some of these folks were begging in line. I don't know if you've been down to Mexico, but people with a kid that looked sick or someone in a wheelchair maybe, and just, they're whether, I don't know if their stories were all legit or whatever, but just talking to a few of them and meeting a few of them, I thought the privileges and access we have in this country is something I take for granted all the time. And I love our country. We have all kinds of problems. I know it's not a perfect country. But we have an incredible opportunity just because of the place we live, the educational access we have, the resources we have. We are wealthy compared to most of the world, almost all of it. And then a couple weeks back, I got to spend some time with Donald and Martha Hart. They came for their brother's funeral. It was just a brutal time. But they were sharing with us just about the fact that they cannot distribute gospel literature or share the gospel with anyone under 18 in the Netherlands. It's against the law there. You're like, say, what? Like imagine Awana, youth ministry, LACS. We couldn't do any of that. And they have to be creative even in getting a permit to distribute literature or talk to people in public spaces over 18. You can't get a permit as a Christian. It's very difficult. All the other religions have no problem, but Christians have a hard time. And they have you can't have a table set up. So they have this workaround where if you get a bike with wheels that folds out the table on top, somehow that's legal. I'm like, I don't get it. So they have to be really creative in even sharing the gospel there. We have huge freedoms. We can talk about Jesus anywhere, anytime we want. People might make fun of us or not want to talk. But why has God given us so much? And I don't just mean us as a church, but just thinking about any person can think this through. He has blessed us. So in this psalm, it's a call for God's favor, for his blessing. God, be gracious to us, bless us, make your face shine upon us. This would immediately bring to mind something from Numbers 6. It would immediately, from anybody with a Jewish background, the prayer of Aaron, where he says this, speak to Aaron and his sons, God says, saying, thus shall you bless the people of Israel. You shall say to them, the Lord bless you and, does anyone know? Keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. On Yom Kippur, one day of the year, one person, the high priest, would go into the presence of God in the Holy of Holies. And I have a picture of the ark. This isn't a real picture. This is this is where the presence of God would dwell. And nobody could go in there. Just one person, one time a year, the high priest. This idea of God's face shining upon them was reserved really for this one person, one day a year, to actually enter, and he would represent and offer atonement for the sins of Israel. So when we think about this prayer, this Old Testament psalm we're looking at, this was the concept in the back of their mind. Okay, that's for that one guy to do. We don't get to go in there. We don't get to have access to God's presence. These winged creatures are angels called cherubim around it. So in Numbers 7, we hear that Moses went into this tent of meeting to speak with the Lord. He heard the voice speaking to him from above the mercy seat that was on the ark. So that's right there. That's that's where God is. He gave him all these commands. It was a terrifying thing. And you know this, we talk about this all the time. In the Bible, when somebody is around this kind of thing, in the presence of God or an angel, what's their first response? Horror. Like they're terrified. They fall flat on their face. They say, like, get me out of here. This glory of God was a terrifying thing in the Old Testament. This God's face shining upon them was veiled. It was like they had to be protected from it. There are awesome things that inspire fear in us, aren't there? And God was like that for the Israelites in the Old Testament. I know I've told the story before, but I want to show a picture of this volcano. I'm going to teach you a Quechua word today. It's called Tungurahua. Can you say that? Yeah, bless you. So the first time I saw Tungurahua, it's an active volcano in Ecuador. Lisa drove by this many times. I don't know where she's sitting. She saw this thing, I know. So the first time I went, I was with my buddy Mike, and he came to visit us, and the kids were in the car seats in the back. They're pretty little still. And we come down, and we're closer than this, but we see the smoke coming out of this thing. It's just awesome. And I'm like, no way. And my son Nick in the back starts to cry. I mean, he's just freaking out. And I'm like, Nick, what's wrong, buddy? He's like, are we going to die? And I had a dad of the year a moment. I said, well, I'm not sure. Like, I don't think so. I don't know if we're going to die. Like, I can't speak with confidence about this volcano. But it was just awe-inspiring event in his life. And later I got to go up really close to the top. We had a crazy bus driver one day with a team. Said, you guys want to go on the volcano? Like a big tour bus? Like, yeah, we do. So he drove us up there, and you could feel that thing shaking. And it was terrifying. You're like, why did I ever let my children do anything like that? It was you, Pastor. But this awe-inspiring, this was similar. This is kind of the sense of God's presence. Like, I want God's presence, but it's terrifying to me in the Old Testament. What am I getting at? I want to just give you two reasons that I think God blesses us that are in this thing, and we'll wrap it up with that. The first one is in verse 2, that your way may be known on earth, your saving power among all nations. God never blesses anyone except that they might be a blessing to others. Stated more simply, God blesses you and me so we can bless other people. It's a conduit of his blessing. God doesn't look at my life and say, Matt is awesome. He deserves my love, and that's the end of it. He says, anybody deserves my love who will turn to me and receive it, but it does not stop there, does it? God doesn't just say, you guys are awesome, here's salvation, I'll see you in heaven. But he says, I want to use you to encourage and bless and pour into and reach other people. That's what God is about. That's what God has always been about. When he called Abram, it seems like he's calling this guy in Genesis 12 to bless Israel. It's one family. Remember Father Abraham had many. You know, if you don't know that song, be thankful. I'm just kidding. Father Abraham had all these children, and the promise was, I'm going to bless you and make you a great nation. You're going to have a lot of kids so that the ends of the earth would know me. God's plan starting in Genesis 3:15 was someday someone's going to come and offer redemption. Going to crush the head of the serpent. So God chose Israel for a specific purpose, to bless all the nations. And we are blessed so that people would know God. That's the first thing. He doesn't bless us and it just ends there, but that's supposed to pour out. The second one is God blesses us so that his saving power would spread to the nations, specifically so that we would share the gospel with people in word and deed. That's what we want to be about as a church. That's what I want to be about as a person. Not to live my life and to seek success and just that my family would be great. Those are fine. Those are awesome things. I want my family to be great. But that I would be a part of God's plan to reach others. And that's why I love some of the things we do at our church. Could they improve? Of course. If you have an idea about something we should do differently or better, let us know. And we'll probably say, you want to run that? Because honestly, the church, and this has been said a couple times already, the reason any of these ministries are being fruitful or God is using them is because of the people that are serving in them by God's power, of course. It's not because I said something or did something. It's because the people love to try to reach and do what they're doing. So just like Israel, it's never just a me and God moment. God loves you, he does, and he wants to save you from sin, the evil one, eternal separation from him, and give you the new heavens and the new earth. But it's never just been about you. It's about us reaching others. It's about us helping see God's kingdom advance. He saves us so that his way may be known on the earth, it says here. That God would bless people, be gracious to them. It's the greatest gift we could give to anyone. Psalm 67:4, we already read it. Let the nations be glad and sing for joy. But then he gives two reasons that God is actually the greatest gift. It says God will judge with equity and guide people on the earth. God is the perfect judge. He's the only one that is the good and right and perfect judge that does what's right all the time. He is working to restore all things. He's on his throne. The curse of sin is being reversed one person at a time. But God is also the guide. He's the loving shepherd. God actually wants to be involved in your life. Did you know that? He wants you to follow him. He wants to be your king, your loving king that will lead you through life. So think back to the Old Testament. God's presence is, one guy once a year going into the Ark of the Covenant. But something changes when Jesus comes, obviously. He has come to bring us to the Father. So that it says in Hebrews, we can boldly approach the throne of grace. That veil of the curtain has been torn. So people can go directly through Jesus into the presence of God. We read this at the end of the Bible, and I'll stop with this. Revelation 5, they sang a new song, saying, worthy are you to take the scroll and open its seals, for you were slain. By your blood, this is talking about Jesus, you ransomed people for God from every tribe and language and people and nation. And you made them a kingdom and priests to our God. This idea is that history is moving. It's linear. It's not cyclical like some people say. History is moving towards a certain thing. And it's a return of Jesus. And it will usher in the new heavens and the new earth where countless billions will be able to worship God together. And it's not just a worship service. I think there's going to be culture making and there it talks about feasting in the Bible. I think Jackson brought this up the other day. I wonder what the food's going to be like in heaven. It's a pretty cool thing to think about. It's pretty awesome. We're going to have real physical bodies. They're going to be different, but they're going to be actual. And we're going to rule and reign in the presence of God forever. And this is the promise, the hope of salvation that we need to bring to our neighbors, our friends, the people that we don't even know yet, our family members. So that's what we want to be about this year is thank God for the blessing he's given in your life. Sometimes life is hard. It's not always like you feel like you're blessed. Sometimes hard things, brutal things happen. But when you consider the blessings, don't stop there. Don't count your blessings, count them one by one, but be ready to give to others. And I'm not talking about money here. I'm talking about just pouring yourself out, serving God, maybe through one of the ministries of the church or some new thing you want to do, but taking the gospel wherever we go. And I think in this, God is glorified. When we say, God, you have blessed us. Show me who to bless today. That's the kind of man I want to be, and I want to pray that for us as a church. So would you do me a favor if you're willing and able, stand to your feet with me, and I want to close this in prayer. And then I'll just say a couple quick things in submission. Let's pray together. God, would you make your face shine upon us? God, bless us so that we can be a blessing to others. I thank you for every man, woman, and child in this room and just the privilege we have to worship you together. Thank you for the good news from different people that were able to get up on the stage and just share about what you're doing in them. And God, I pray you'd continue to draw us close to Jesus, most of all, so that we could be sent out and be a light in this world, in our neighborhood, in our job, in our families, at school, wherever you take us. God, that we would stand for you and that people would be drawn to you, not because we are awesome, but because you are awesome. And we'll give you the glory for all you do. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.